Hey there, welcome to Hobie on YouTube. I'd like to show you a couple of features that I've added to what I dub my Super Soldier, which is just a heavily modified Victorinox Trekker or Trailmaster model. And the ideas I'm getting ready to show you are actually Felix Immler's and come to me from his excellent channel. If you don't know Felix Immler, he is a YouTuber, but he's also an expert in Victorinox knives. He's an expert bushcrafter, and he just shares a lot of ingenious and clever mods and hacks and ways to add functionality to your Swiss Army knife on his channel. So this first idea is from his video entitled Best Swiss Army Knife Trick 2022, the hump trick. Best way to store a Ferro rod in a 111 millimeter sack. So the idea is for a 111 millimeter Swiss Army knife that has the Phillips driver here, like the Trekker or Soldier or something. Underneath that screwdriver is a void, a channel behind this spring, and there's a little hump here that can hold a ferro rod in place. So if you look down in there, you can see there's a ferro rod of a certain size, and of course it won't come out with the tool closed. But it won't come out either with the tool open. And this is the neat thing about this technique. It won't come out until you pull back on the tool, and then it just drops out. So that is really cool. Again, you're going to need a ferro rod of a certain size, and Felix Immler shows us where to get those. A couple of sources. I got mine from firesteel.com, and this is their size tiny. They come, again, these are 1/8 inch in diameter, if I didn't say that, and they're 2 inches long, and they cost $1.39. So it's not too bad. I think, it's probably better than buying Fireflies or something. Of course, they're for 91 millimeter knives, but it's, it's pretty cheap, really. I bought 6 of them just to have it be worth shipping to me. I wanted a couple to play around with and a couple to wear out. And so, of course, you're going to have to cut this down, and it did that by putting it in a vise and hacksawing it. Just a word of warning, of course, this is a ferro rod, so as you saw on it, it's going to make quite a lot of sparks. So go slow and make sure you don't have anything volatile or flammable nearby. Right? Just use some common sense. So the size that I cut this down to was just shy of 1 1/4 inches. It's like 1 7/32. But metrically, that's 31 millimeters. Okay, and once you've cut to that size, and it could be maybe just a little smaller to put in here, but the smaller you make it, the harder it is to hold on to and actually use and strike. But you just kind of put it in there and bias it toward the back here, and then pull back on this, and you see how it dropped in there? And now I should be able to close the Phillips. So really great. I'll demonstrate sparking that in a moment when I have some foil down so I don't burn a hole in anything. But while we're on that idea, I thought, hey, now that I have these, I wonder if I could fit one in the corkscrew of a 130 millimeter Victorinox, like this Ranger 55 with the walnut scales. And sure enough, as you can see right there, it fits perfectly. I mean, again, you're going to have to cut it a little bit, but the diameter is perfect. Just slides right in and out of there. And when you open the corkscrew to use it, this will drop out. You'll have to set it aside and then put it back. But that's no big thing. This one I had to cut to 43 millimeters, which is just shy of 1 3/4. I think it's like 1 11/16. So 43 millimeters on this one. It just drops right in there. And it will drop here where it won't close, so you have to kind of overdrop. So pull it back a little bit like that, just so it clears the wood there. And you want to cut it so it's held in place by the wood on both sides, and it can't come out. So now you have on either a 111 millimeter large Victorinox knife or a 130 millimeter large Victorinox knife with corkscrew, you've got a way to make a fire or spark some tinder. At a very minimum, just spark a camp stove to get it going. Okay, let's see if we can make some sparks. Got my foil down. Drop that out. Now normally with my Super Soldier, I strike a ferro rod with the inside of the cap lifter, which I have sharpened. a la the old style soldier knives. But it really doesn't work very well with this short piece of ferro rod. It's better with a bigger piece. So I'm going to go with the back edge of the saw, and that's a good square edge that allows you to usually get a spark. Now sometimes you can't get a spark with these until you kind of skin them a little bit. I have been using this one, so I ought to be able to get a spark, but again, it is hard. It's very small, so it's hard to hold on to and get, you know, much. Mr. Immler shows us a neat little bushcraft technique where you can put this in a stick so you can have a little better grip on it and strike. But let me just see what I can do here. So yeah, you know, might have to work pretty hard to get some tinder going with that one, but you can certainly spark your camp stove. Well, let's try this one out of the bigger knife, the 130 millimeter Ranger. Fits in the corkscrew. Again, we'll use the back of the saw. And yeah, let's see if we can do a little better with this one. A little worse. Again, sometimes it takes a while working these to... There we go. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's possible. You know, it's not the best thing, but it's survival kind of stuff. It's like perfect for a Swiss Army knife. If you got nothing else, you know, maybe inside your Swiss Army knife there you have a solution. Okay, this last idea comes from Felix Immler's video, How to Add Tweezers, Needle, and Toothpick on a Sack Without Slots. And that certainly applies here because these micarta scales don't have any slots, nor do these wood scales have any slots for scale tools. So this is just a way for me to have a couple tools on board that I might need, ever so occasionally. Tweezers, and really a toothpick just to get the tweezers out, as you'll see. I did not try the needle because that pushes into a little hole, usually in plastic scales, and would be very difficult to do in these solid micarta or wood scales. So the tweezers reside under the main blade. There's a slot, a little cavity under the blade, and you can see them down there. What you do is you squeeze them together and push them down in there. In order to do that, you have to thin the plastic head a little bit. I simply took a knife and just cut a little bit off of it. Then you kind of squeeze them together and push them in, and because they're under tension, you know, they won't just fall out when you use the blade. So that's nice. You won't just lose the tweezers right away. They'll be there when you need to fish them out. And that begs the question, how do you get them out? And that's where the toothpick comes into play. Finally, the most useless Victorinox Swiss Army knife tool has a use, and that is to get another tool. So now you know how I feel about toothpicks. But what I did is I just put it under, there's room to put it under the can opener and the screwdriver cap lifter. And sometimes it just kind of falls out, and other times you can use one tool or the other and it won't. But you got to have it so you don't have to pick it out with something else. You got to be able to get that out by just kind of coming up or falling out, because that whole idea of that is to pick out the tweezers. And with that, you can just kind of reach in here and fish up the tweezers. And then, you know, if you have a splinter or tick that you really just needed a pair of tweezers for, you've got them. You put them back just kind of the same, just opposite. Feed them down in there. This might be a little awkward to do on camera, but take your tweezers and just kind of push them back down into the slot. And then you can close your blade. Doesn't interfere at all with the blade. And you can open your opening tools. Can opener, cap lifter. I just kind of drop that in kind of halfway between the two. They ought to shut and hold that in place. You're more prone to lose the cheap toothpick than you are the tweezers. Again, I'm just putting that on board so I've got something to lift the tweezers out with. Should I lose that, I guess I always get a little stick or something. And so I just tried to carry that idea forward again, like the ferro rod, to the 130 millimeter Victorinox knives. And in this case, I found a place for tweezers up under the saw. And there you can see also my toothpick is. And I might be able to just drop that toothpick out. Yep. So that's just going to come out, but then you can use it. The tweezers don't. And then you can get in here. Oh, I already did it. Fish them out. So there you go. There's a way to put tweezers and a toothpick on your Victorinox knives that don't have slots for them. And again, it's not real elegant. It's a little fussy, particularly putting them back. But hey, you know, again, if you're really going to need a pair of tweezers, you know, you're going to have them. So kind of a cool idea, I thought. Thank you, Mr. Immler. And hey, thanks guys for watching. I appreciate it. And have fun collecting.